And wait for a few seconds because YouTube takes a little bit. All right, everybody. Hey, guess what? It's November 30th. It's a Saturday and it's 2019. Guess what? If you're not fully zonked out by your Thanksgiving turkey, mashed potatoes, fat foods coma, we got a lot of good information. Ed's going to make it as short as he can and precise because if he doesn't, I'm going to start getting on his ass about it. Because,
Short as I can. Oh,
well,
we're gonna start doing 2 hour talk shows again. But anyhow, that's coming.
what? Now that's news to me.
Yeah, I know. Well, we're getting deals, but anyhow,
Hey,
shit is starting to hit the fan.
okay, Ed,
So
why don't you take it
anyhow,
away?
yeah, we'd like to thank you all for joining with us again tonight. I'm gonna get into some facts coming up here pretty soon because people need to know what's going on. But the first thing, like I said, last week I started going off a little bit on Anne von Ritz, and I'm going to get into that because we got Anne von Ritz and 5 other people now that are claiming their work is my work is their work. And so this is the one thing that's frustrating because I just got a call this afternoon about that again. And it's like, and not only that, associate of mine that we've been putting this stuff together, they're claiming both of our work is their work. And see, this is the one thing that really frustrates me when these people are out there claiming other people's work. They're using our work and writing this stuff as theirs. And this is the one thing that, folks, you got to pay attention to some reality with these people because people are out there just like, as you know, because people steal other people's work, they steal other people's knowledge, and they sell it for personal and financial gain for themselves. So, and this is the one thing that you have to realize that people are this evil. You know, that's why I don't believe in the Roman Catholic Bible Church, because the Bible Church is the devil. They preach to you that, oh, you need to kneel, you need to pray, you need to do this, you need to do that. And it's like, who says I need to be begging and pleading? See, that is the one thing that you need to realize, that when people tell you that you need to beg and plead and do all this stuff, you don't need to do that. Because to me, it's so disturbing when I sit there and watch these people steal our work, other people's work that we've combined together, you know, and, you know, it's really frustrating, you know, because I mean, you know, and that goes back to, I want to bring in, I'm looking for the videotape, the YouTube videotape that I had with me and Bruce the Set in On Van Ritz and all this stuff. Because they wanted to put me and a friend of ours, associate of ours, on public trial because they thought it was going to be fun for them to do this to us, which was humiliating for them when it really turned out to it because Dave, oh God, brain fart. His name will come to me. Dave, my associate, we've written a whole bunch of stuff with on the Queen of England and stuff like this. And this is the point that people need to realize, that the stuff that we've been putting out is real. It's not a figment of the imagination because everything that we put out, they wrote it, we quote it. I'm not quoting you stuff that is not determined by me. I'm quoting the structure that is determined by the corporation called the Supreme Court. So we're quoting, they wrote it, we quote it. So that's the whole point. They wrote the administrative rules. We're quoting the administrative rules. And so that's the whole point. Now, these guys are out there claiming, like Anne von Ritz says, I'm a Alaska state judge. And folks, please verify that. Believe me, I've called Alaska State Corporation courts. I've talked to the clerk. I won't tell you what they told me about her. But it's like, they're like, what are you talking about? And see, this is the one thing that, you know, people got to realize, that these people are out there selling hopes and dreams to keep you in jail. And that's what it really comes down to. Because they make a living. And some of them, like, you know, when Anne von Ritz was under investigation, I believe it was 2 years ago, that they were going to arrest her. And the only reason why I believe they did not arrest her was because she turned state evidence. the only thing logically I could think of. Because to me, I just can't think of anything else because, so many things that she's put out, and she's got her stuff that she puts out dealing with how to free yourself from the system. And, I've got the paperwork now. We'll be getting that up eventually. But the paperwork on that is that you have to be very cautious of what you're doing. And then you got this other group that is calling themselves the United States of America, 1781, Office of the Department of Secretary of State. Remember, this group has only been around for the last 6 years, and they're calling themselves the federal government. And when it comes down to it, if you know anything about 1781, the original structure of the Constitution with the Native and Indian treaties was the United States for America, not of. Big, lawful, and legal difference of wording. And see, this is the one thing that gets to me when people don't realize, and I try calling these people up too, and it's like, when I call them up, and they know who's calling them, because everybody, pretty much of these people, and I put up their videotape out because the guy, when he's out there, I put up the videotape a couple days ago, and he explained it, who owns you, but all this shit basically is what I've been putting out for years. I was putting this stuff out even before this guy started his website. So, and then I called this Sarah Westall. She runs a TV station, news channel, and all that stuff, and you can type that in on YouTube. And I talked to her a couple days ago, and I buried her with a whole bunch. I sent her 16 or 17 emails of real facts. Because they're going on about this stuff, and she's praising this guy, and it's like, and then the guy's saying, oh, you need to know your nationality. I hate to say it, people, but don't fall into this dumb guy's attitude because of nationality. Nationality has nothing to do with the United States. The United States is not open to the world. We are not a world organization of the fantasy of some Roman Catholic Bible church. And all these people teach, we're going to teach the Bible. Well, it's like going back to the slavery days when the blacks used to get whipped by, the white masters from England. And when they would always tell them, after you do your work, then we're going to teach you the Bible. Same thing as when they raped, robbed, and murdered the Indians. What do? We're going to teach you the Bible. We steal your kids. We're going to sit there and lie to you. We steal your kids. We're going to put them in foster care. Remember, adoption? This goes back to the 1870s. They were doing this. Christians. I always love when people say, I'm a Christian. Oh, yeah. And then they go, well, that's not a Christian. I don't do that rape, rob, and pillage. But you support it. You're not stopping it. I get tired of these people that are sitting there bullshitting you. So, like I said, this lady, and I look her up, Sarah Westall. And her last name is Westall. Okay, and she has a channel up, and, with John Singleton was the guy who runs this United States for America crap. I tried calling him up more than once. I've been posting stuff on his Facebook page for a long time. And then I've been doing this because, then it comes down to where he's bringing up the Grandmaster, and all this stuff. Well, he's got part of it, but remember, your Secretary of State is the registered Vatican Corporation. Each Secretary of State, and he's going off like all these people going to 50 states. There is no 50 states. Do your research. Title 28, 3002, Corporation, 50 states. All right? We are not the corporation of the British government, folks. That's a corporation that exists on paper, doesn't exist in reality. And these people keep pushing this fantasy. And let me tell you something. Alaska is still technically no man's land. Because if you do the research, even though that the United States did buy Alaska, all right, but remember, it's still registered as no man's land. And the state of Hawaii is still registered as a British colony. Why do you think the Hawaii still flies the British flag? I mean, come on. Open your eyes. Look at the real truth. Quit being demised by these even what they want to call millenniums or whatever this new group they call them. I haven't got it down yet. What is that group called? The millenniums? You know, I mean, it's like when these people go off on this stuff, you know, it's like this afternoon I was talking to a young lady out of Florida, you know, 18 years old, and I'm explaining some things about the system, and she has some clue, but then she started opening her eyes up, and I said, see how simple this is once you open your eyes? And she goes, well, yeah, I see this, and I'm like, well, that's the whole point. And the thing is, know your bloodline. And then if you're not a Native American, you just pay your taxes, follow the administrative rules, and you don't get caught up into it. If you don't pay your taxes, you're not basically working, because technically when you come to the United States, it's like any other country in the world. If you don't have the resources, you can't live there. Because most countries, you can't go and get a job there unless you're native to that soil. And, you know, I mean, Mexico, you go into Mexico, you don't have the resources. They throw you in jail. You go to Russia, you don't have the resources. They throw you in jail. You go to France, they throw you in jail if you're not paying your way. England does it. Of course, right now they're fighting the Muslims in their country. And, of course, we're starting to do that because I just found out that Nancy Pelosi and Wise and all these idiots, they passed administrative rules to allow Muslims to run for office and allow them in our country. This was just 10 years ago they did this. Technically, they have no legal right passing that because that's supposed to technically, if that goes through, it has to go to the voters, 100% to the 48 states. Alaska and Hawaii could not be included in administrative votes. See, this is what it always disturbs me, how people don't step out of the movie and really catch on what's really going on. You know, the Civil War is a corporation. After the Civil War, everything after the 14th Amendment is a corporation. Prior to that was the original Constitution and freedom. Everything after that is a corporation, and you pay the privilege to live. Simple. And see, when you get these groups out there, and I get into a whole bunch of these people, you know, I mean, I get into even the structure with, oh, God, you know, some of these children groups out there. And if you look at most of these children groups, what is it that runs them? Lawyers. Realize that these lawyers are running these groups. They're not protecting you because these people don't give a shit about you. They just go, hey, I got another sucker willing to give me money. And that's the whole point, is that they sit there and go after you, you know, how they are doing to get money out of you. And I have to put this one out. The guy just put up a video dealing with on warrants that I've been preaching about. They're not valid. Warrants could only be issued, and some people are getting it. A warrant could only be issued if you committed personal and property damage. Otherwise, if you pass a street corner, they can't go after you. That's where you don't get it. People don't comprehend the reality of what's going on. So, and that's the one thing that, I mean, I just go so sick and tired of these people that are out there dictating. I mean, it's like now we got another timber company group that is forming in Oregon. And, you know, and they're meeting, you know, hopefully it's next year, because if it's going next year, I'm going to have to work to get there. Because this is dealing with, new timber company in Oregon to cut more trees down. Well, everybody keeps going, jobs, jobs, jobs. We don't have a right to have jobs in this country. You don't have a right to employment in this country when it's destroying the public soil and the public lands. Period. See, and that is the thing that people got to wake up. You don't have a right to come to our country and destroy our structure and our livelihoods. What people are doing today. Oh, I have a right to a job. I have a right to rape children and murder people. That's what Christians do, and I get people all the time. I'm a Christian. I don't do that. Yes, you do. You know, that is the point. You do. Because you're supporting this stuff, you're not sitting there going after and protecting them. You know, so, and that is the point, that you've got to realize that this is a structure that actually happens. You know, oh shit, this timber company's putting a ballot title so they could cut the forest down. And I mean the forest. Now the forest cannot be cut down. See, that's what gets to me, how ignorant people are. You know, we cut the forest down, then there's no deer, there's no elk, there's no rainwater, there's no salmon, you know. You people, when the world goes to the zombie stage and there's no food for your children, you're going to be a cannibal. Literally, you're a cannibal. You'll eat anything. You'll even eat your own children. They do that today. You know, I mean, everybody knows that. You've been watching those YouTube videos and stuff like that for going on around for years. So this is what disturbs me, and you guys should be disturbed on this and standing up on these things when this stuff is going on, destroying your communities, your homes, your livelihood. So you're allowing this to happen to your livelihood, to your structure. You're destroying your own corporation. You know, it's like I got this one video, this one little deal I put out, you know, where a lady's looking at their test, you know, she's pregnant, and she goes, oh, I'm giving birth to another corporation, and that's what it is. If you do not file to own your body and you don't own yourself, you're filing to own that corporation. And that's where you have to accept this stuff. You know, we are actually living this reality. So when people sit there and go, oh, this doesn't affect me. Yes, it does affect you. See, that is the thing that is so disturbing when people don't get how what's going on around you truly affects you and your home, your wildlife, you know, your children. And people say, well, it doesn't affect me and my children. Yes, it does. See, I just don't get how people sit there and be so ignorant. You know, I mean, I love this. United States for America, 1781. It wasn't United States for America back then. It was called United States for America, 1781. It was not called the United States of America. When they're using this British terminology, these corporation terms, British government terms, you know, and then people say, oh, well, the British government, you know, I mean, they're our friends. They're not your friends. Remember, the British government in Nazi Germany run the United Nations today, still today, hasn't changed, ever. And then you go along with this structure and you say it's acceptable. And then you wonder why the children today have no knowledge of what's going on in the real world. They're all mentally so screwed up that they don't get reality. And so we're living this stuff, what's going on. You know, when I talk to kids on the phone, you know, around, and I talk to them about their rights, and I talk to them about what's going on, and they're like, what do you mean? And it's like, well, let's go over here and look this up. You know, I'll put them into the deal. I mean, you know, how to look up stuff. Start teaching them how to, you know, surf through the websites of the states, the Constitution, and the court system, the federal court system. You know, and I'm going to be putting this up in the website tonight, the YouTube channel, when we get done, how Anne von Ritz ended her association with Bruce Doucette and Michael Hamilton. Remember, these are all continental judges and marshals. And so I'm going to be putting this up so you can read this stuff, so you get to read these people. They tried to get me in this shit 4 years ago. And I was like, why would I want to sit there? You know, and then, you know, I love it because, I mean, the thing is like when Chief Marshal Haywood, you're going to listen to the video. I'm going to put that up. As soon as I find it on YouTube, I'm going to put that thing up on the website tonight. And I'll put it on all the other stuff. But see, you know, with Anne von Ritz, she's sitting there, she takes everybody's work, she writes these letters up with Paul, and she brings this stuff out. And, I mean, I've gone after Anne. Anne emails me every day, and I still use some of her stuff that she says, and, I mean, it's not her stuff. She's writing this stuff from me and 5 other people, and so we do keep conversation going back. We have fun with the conversation at times, you know, because we know what's going on. Okay, but see, the thing is that when Bruce Doucette ended up getting 38 years for paper terrorism, he walked into a district court. He was told not to. You know, it's like Finnegan, you know. He was told not to go to the sheriff that day because Kate Brown had a hit order on him. But, you know, when people hear this stuff, they don't listen. And that's the saddest part, that people are not listening when people sit there and suggest to you what's going on. I've been fortunate. I've been suggested on things myself, let me tell you. But also, too, I just do what I do. I just know the Great Spirit's there. See, I believe in a real truth. I don't believe in, fantasies. Religion is a private corporation. Why do you think every religion is a 501c3 corporation? Why do you think that the IRS is a British corporation out of Puerto Rico, still run by the Vatican and the Queen of England? Because that goes back to the national debt. Because remember, the national debt. Who did the national debt? Who cleared bankruptcy? The British government. That's 1913. Okay, that's the Rothschilds Bank and all of them. They all claimed bankruptcy, and they said, oh, we have a national debt. We don't have a national debt. The British people have a national debt to we the people. See, that is the one thing that when you realize that there is no national debt and they owe we the people, I don't give a shit because, it wasn't our deal back then with the money and stuff. But it's our livelihoods today. So that's why I always say, if you own land, you certify it, you pass it down to your children. It's your responsibility to protect your bloodline. It's not mine. See, once you realize that it is your responsibility, you start coming down to a whole different conclusion of what's going on in the real world. And so that is the whole thing. Life is so damn simple. And that is one thing that people don't comprehend, how simple life really is. We're supposed to be able to go hunting and fishing and feed our families. We're not supposed to be forced into labor, slave labor. People go, oh, I get a paycheck. But, that is still slave labor. Because you're working for somebody else, and not only that, I've got some information, but I still want to verify it, and even though I think it's been verified, but your strawman account pays you when you have a job. The employer don't, because it's still running off a de facto note. Still running off a de facto note. Doesn't exist. It's not real money. Since after 1913, we haven't had real money. And the only real money is gold and silver or your labor, barter. And so when you do purchase a home, and if you're lawful bloodline native, 5 or more generations, make sure you put at least 5 to 10% down in gold and silver. Then that way you could be the soil owner, not the landowner. Landowners have no right. You get a title to a piece of paper to a piece of paper. Soil owner means that you own the soil. And that's where people have got to start coming to the reality of what the soil means compared to land. Because land is the sky and the air above you, Soil is what you can grab in your hand and taste. Land you can't taste. Land is a piece of paper off of BLM, and if you go by BLM, when you do a land title search, it goes as soil, not land. See, it really comes down to comprehending what the real truth is compared to what we think the truth is. And so seeing that we're not being properly educated on the real truth and the real facts, that's like, I always recommend another one is Norton versus Shelby County. 28USC3002. And read this stuff that I bring up to you. I bring this stuff to your attention so you go out and read this stuff so you get to know the truth. That's like the 1933 Bankruptcy Act was a fraud. Okay? It was staged. And they did that to bankrupt this country to take away what people thought was their soil, their gold and silver. So that way, that's right, the British government called the Roman Catholic Church, called the Vatican, that you prayed to. All these people pray to God, and you're praying to their God that rapes your children and murders you and takes your cars and steals your homes. You know, I mean, and I will have that ballot title here finished shortly, too. And that's the other point. Lawyers and attorneys are not licensed to practice law. See, once you realize that it's a fraud, and you can go to Sherwood Board versus Examiners 353 U.S. 238-239. And practicing law is an occupation of the Vatican, not of the United States. Sims versus Aherms, Aherns 271 SW720 1925. The attorneys are not licensed to practice law. They're licensed to practice law in a tribunal court, and that goes to the Vatican. That's not American. And this is the other point. Everybody keeps going, I'm a citizen, I'm a national. Term citizen is a member of the United States Corporation, is a British subject of in common law. Result, the change in government. When you say I'm a citizen or national, you're claiming that you are a foreign agent to the British government. You know, and I tell people that, and I got people argue with me all the time, and I said, prove me wrong. I just did that yesterday and today with a couple people on the phone and through emails and on Facebook chats. Prove me wrong, prove me wrong. You know, and two of them sent me a message that basically just told me I was an asshole. Well, I don't have a problem being called an asshole, yeah. But that's what I said. Prove me wrong. I'm quoting you what they wrote, and as I say on this talk show for years that I've been doing talk shows, they wrote it, I quote it. So, and that is the point. And you got to remember, a United States citizen or a United States national are determined as a corporation identities. You know, and if you don't believe that, here's another one. United States reside in the states of the Union are classified as property, franchise of the federal government. And once you realize the federal government is the British government, called the Roman Catholic Church, called the Vatican, that's the Treaty of 1866 of the Civil War, the two constitutions with the British government. We have that up. And see, once you start reading this, you start comprehending what the real truth is. So the United States resides in the state of the Union, not unions. You got to learn what the words mean. And are classified as property of the franchise of the federal government as an individual identity. And everybody says, I'm an individual. No, I'm native. I don't take an individual is a title of nobility. And that's Wheeling Steel Company Corporation versus Fox 298US19380 L.ED 1143.56S.CT.773. Look it up. Read it. Read what the structure of land is versus soil. That's in this case too. So, I mean, this is the bottom line. And then becomes an artificial identity. Anybody who takes an oath of office. That means anybody who's elected a public employee cannot make an affidavit. You make an affidavit, that's a federal crime. A judge, a cop, all these people, they can't make an affidavit. That's a federal crime. So when these people out there are pushing this stuff on these other websites to keep you going in their corporation structure, you know, and a corporation can neither practice law nor hire lawyers to carry out businesses to practice law. And that's People versus California. Protector Corporation, 76 Cal, AP 354 244 PAC 1089. And it is illegal for any government agency, any mayor, city council, court system, anybody to ask for your Social Security number. Say, everybody keeps going, your Social Security number is a government agency. Well, partly, technically, it's true, but the Social Security was never originally set up as a government agency. It was set up as a retirement fund for Native Americans if you go back to the original paperwork when they originally structurally set it up compared to when they altered the paperwork in 1937. And I put those court cases up back then, too, on the website. And so this is the one thing that when they ask you for your Social Security number for a job, that's a crime. Like when I've been in jail, when I've been in the hospital so many times, they come up and go, well, we need your Social Security number to register you. And I said, I'm under duress. I said, you wouldn't want me to commit a crime, would you? You know how fast they leave you alone? They know it. These people know this stuff. This is not a joke. Hang on a second. So, when you ask these questions to these public servants, and you got to ask these questions to these people, and you want to make sure that when they tell you something, you want them to put it in writing, so you got a contract now. Article 1, Section 10 of the Constitution. That's what the Constitution, that goes back to Native treaties. Remember, all the Indian treaties are a contract. With who? The British government, the federal government. Say, you guys don't comprehend the federal government, the federal Supreme Court is the British government. Go look it up. Prove me wrong. I'm waiting for somebody to prove me wrong. You can't because I quote it. I do the research. Even when I wrote the structure for Judge Scalia on immigration before he was murdered. Judge Scalia just didn't die with a pillow over his face. And like I said, they say Obama came from Hawaii. Well, that's just bullshit because Hawaii is owned by the British government. Hawaii is not part of the United States, and if you look it up, Hawaii is the United States Corporation, Inc. So how could Obama be born in Hawaii when he's actually born in Kenya? And that's been proven. And everybody keeps going, well, Trump hasn't done this and Trump hasn't done that. Well, get off your goddamn ass and write. Get off your goddamn ass and file the criminal charges. You're the Native American. It's your responsibility. Be a man or a woman for once in your life. So that's the problem with people. They can't, God's going to save me. I need somebody else to do it. I vote these people in office. They're going to protect me. When you vote these people in office, they don't give a fuck. Okay, that's a valid proof. I've been elected a public official. I ran for mayor twice, and what did I write in the newspapers? Oh, Sheriff Branstetter won by the dead votes. What does that tell you? So, because I ran too, and I paid one of my elections, cost me $4,000 out of my own pocket because I sent everybody, a mail-in ballot that they had to have notarized in red ink and signed in red ink to prove that they were native, so that way it was a lawful election, not a legal election. And then when I went back to the county clerk to ask them how many they received, oh my God, everybody says, we don't know what you're talking about, Ed. And I had numerous people call me up and said, we filled this out, we sent it out, we got it. Even if they received 10, I was the mayor, but they didn't want that. And I was told that by other public servants, because if they had that, I could actually sit there and set the city where it wasn't a debt corporation. And see, this is the point that people have to come to the conclusion of what's lawful and legal. And if you want to be lawful, you have to know your rights. You have to file your rights. And see, when people say, oh, well, I'm an immigrant, I have rights. No, you don't. Read the law. I even post that up by federal law, that immigrants have no rights. That's a proven fact. Immigrants have absolutely no rights in the United States. So, but everybody keeps going, I have a right. It's my right. And I always say to people, who gave you the right? I was like, I've been preaching because I know I have a right to travel and stuff. Like a friend of mine says, well, who signed the document that gave you the right to travel without a license? Did you get it from a judge? No. And I'm still working on that one. See, this is the point. You know, we have these things, we're not getting them, and the state ain't doing it because they don't give a damn about you or your children. I mean, one thing is even Kate Brown, she don't give a shit about you or your children, or the Oregon State Governor. She supports raping the children and robbing the children. She supports raking income off the children. That's what she truly does. Personally, I know Kate Brown. Kate Brown destroyed my family for personal and financial gain. 2015, I got congressmen and senators up at the Oregon State Capitol going, hey, didn't Kate Brown do a good job on you? This is public record where they admitted how they had a vendetta out for me. In public record. So when people say that this stuff doesn't exist, it sure the hell does exist. And that's the thing. And then most people just keep their mouths shut because I got a job. I'm not going to do this. Like my house was robbed by the local police department when I'm in ICU unit, life support. My neighbors tell me this, and of course they're telling me nobody's going to sit there and sign a document because they're not going to lose their job, their homes. They're not going to have their house robbed or be assaulted by these public servants. And that's what shows me. Where are you Americans? You all say, I'm an American. Where are the Americans? Who are you an American? Why do you claim that you're an American when you don't even stand up for your native people? You know, you're not an American. You're a traitor when it comes down to it. You know you're a traitor. Look at the definition of traitor against the country here. See, I mean, and that's the point. You know, how do we not do this to ourselves and make sure that, and everybody keeps going, our children are the future generations. Future generations of mind-controlled slavery from some Vatican. That's the real truth. I'm wrong. You know, that's like the 14th Amendment. People say, oh, the 14th Amendment gave me rights. 14th Amendment didn't give you rights. Because the 14th Amendment was never properly passed or ratified because it could not have been passed nor could have been ratified. So that's the one thing. You got to wake up to the real truth here, folks. You know, I mean, and that's the one thing. If we start accepting the real truth, then our children will have freedom. They'll know what life's about. Because, I mean, we've even posted up with the structure of the fraud of the state of Oregon and election fraud that they're getting away with it. And we now have to find the video. Put our video. Post up the video when Clinton was, the president? And he had the corporation sit there and, what was that? Had the election machines fixed. And the guy who did all the election machines for the 50 state incorporation, because remember, prior to the Civil War, we were not incorporated. Then you get all these people going, oh, yeah, yes, we were. No, we weren't. Read the law. I'm talking law. Statute codes and administrative rules are not law. They are city and county administrative rules that affect elected and public employees, immigrants, and all elected and public employees and servants and contractors. Yeah, and then I get tired because I say public servant or employees at times. Well, those technically are contractors. So it's learning who, what, why, and how do we protect the children. And so the best way is start filing and claiming your bloodline. Own your child. If you don't own your child, you have no rights to a child. And see, that's the point. You know, people say, I have this right, I have that right. You know, and I ask people, who gave you that right? See, you have to verify who gave you the right. And I always love when people say, well, the Bible gave me the right. I'm a Christian. Prove the Bible. Bible was written by man. People say the Bible was written by God. Well, once you find and see God, tell him to come. I've been waiting to meet God for, since I can recall. I haven't seen or met a God yet. And I don't claim that there is a God out there. See? When you claim that there's a God, you're saying that somebody is above you. You're saying you don't have rights. That's what you're admitting to a God that you have to bow your knees to and pray to somebody else. Because you don't have authority. You're praying that you don't have a right. And that's what you're telling the general public right off the bat. You don't have a right. So the whole point is knowing what the words really mean. And that is the point. And that is the one thing that you have to realize what these words mean when you use these words. So it's your responsibility to know these words. The school systems have totally failed us, and that's a fact. We all know the school system failed us, and that's a fact. The school system doesn't care about your children. You take your kids off, you drop them to school, and I mean, how many times have I heard the school called the CPS on me, and my kids were taken into custody. And it's like, all right, your kids were taken into custody. For what, why, and how? Prove it. That's the one thing. And you go in to do this stuff and say that, oh, I have a right. That's like saying that, oh, all the structure that these people tell me, I don't have a right to. But they want you to prove your property taxes, your income taxes. That's like what they've done to Donald Trump, going, oh, you need to prove your taxes. Well, like I say to these people, prove that they have a right to prove their taxes. Who are they that says that you have the right to prove that you have to pay these taxes? There is no law that says you do. See, that's the one thing. Look at the structure. Like I said, we have it posted up on the new.Oregon website, too, as well as our YouTube channel. And you can go into federal law and type in the federal Department of Treasury. Federal government says taxes are voluntary. The whole point, knowing what is real and knowing what is voluntary. Once you comprehending what these administrative rules really mean compared to what you think they mean. And like I said, I preach this stuff all the time. I'm not going to stop preaching. And it's like the other point, agents of foreign principal, or agents of any agent of a person. Remember, a person is an inanimate object. It's elected and public servant. Learn what a servant is if you don't know what a servant is. Some people are well enough, they can hire servants to serve them in their homes and stuff, but you have to know what a servant is. That's your responsibility to know what a servant is. It's not my responsibility to tell you this stuff. It's your responsibility to know this stuff. You're supposed to be educated enough to know this stuff, to learn this stuff, to protect your bloodline. And that is the point. It's your responsibility to protect your bloodline. And it's your responsibility to be educated to learn how to do it. And that's what we're trying to teach you here at Trackers, how to own your bloodline. That's like artificial people have no rights to be in an oath of office. And if they don't put there and prove that they have a right to be in office, we have a right to sue them. And that is the point, that you need to realize and learn this stuff. How to sue these men and women. Once you learn how to sue them and you start going after them for destruction of your homes, your property, your assets, then that way, once you do that, then you can start being free. But knowing what the words are of being free first. And that is the one thing that you have to know, what the words mean of freedom. Most people don't have a clue of what freedom is or means. And so when it comes down to this stuff, the best part about learning is living it. And once you live it, then you can start talking and preaching it. But until you start learning to live this stuff and learning what the rights are of your rights, not privileges. And that's the one thing that people don't know, what a privilege is versus a right. And once you comprehend what a right is, and that means lawful bloodline natives have rights. Immigration doesn't have rights, and we've had the federal laws posted up, and we get this stuff out to the general public. Donald Trump even came out and stated that fact. And so that is the point, that when these things start become apparent to you, and you get to learn, what a right is, and then that way you know what it is. So, and this is bottom line, because, I get people out all the time out there, telling people to stay away from me. All these groups that I've mentioned, several of them, and they're out there making a living off of mine and other men and women's work. That's how they make their living, off of others' work. And so when they're doing this, or then you got these people that would sit there and sell you these packages to get you off the system. Well, we're not going to sell you a package. We're going to be sitting there putting the evidence out so you can actually read it and learn for yourself. Because I'm not going to sit there and preach to you and send you a package and sit there and say, oh, you're going to do this, that, and the other thing. I'm not accepting liability for you. You're not my child. You're not my responsibility. And I'm not going to sit there and do that structure where I'm putting myself in a liability issue. A respectable man or woman wouldn't take the responsibility of somebody else. That's like when you go to a court case, you subpoena your state representative, because your representative is supposed to represent you in court. That's what a state representative is. And remember, when you go to court, you give up your rights. And that's the point. You have no constitutional rights. You're at the beck and call of the corporation. So once you comprehend that you are the beck and call of the corporation or the court system, they're the domestic court system. They are not lawful or legal court systems. They are tribunal British government courts. They're legislative courts. The legislative courts are not American courts. Not at all. Let's say if you're a baseball player, a soccer player, football player, you have a contract. And when you go to court, you go to a legislative constitution court, what they call a constitution court. You don't go to an Article III court. You don't go in front of a grand jury. And if you ever do go in front of a grand jury, you make sure that not one of those grand jury members are elected and public servant. They can't be elected and public servant. Because if they're elected and public servant, oh my God, you just gave up your rights. Because now you have people that are claiming for their best interest because they're making a financial income off of you. And that's the point that you got to realize. These people are making an income off of you. They don't care about you. And so that is the one thing dealing with the comprehension. Now we're getting ready for something called Christmas coming up. 1841, Macy's department store started Christmas. Look at your real history. Of course, they took that down when I publicized that fact. Because, and you go back, and that was downtown London because they didn't have sales back then. So because there was no sales, they had to create something so that way they had a job. It's like right now, you look at the sales of Christmas, Thanksgiving, all these holidays. The jobs. And that's what they're creating is, what they call jobs. All right? And so they're paying you, and so you're going out there and you're selling projects. Some people go out and, what is that? Cut trees down, destroy the fishing environment, destroy the public resources. Come on, look at Hanford, up at the Columbia River here in Oregon and Washington, leaking the contaminants right into the river, killing off the fish. They know it. State of Oregon knows it. Tried to get this at the Capitol for public speaking for 20 years. They don't want to talk about it. See, that is the point. They don't want to talk to you about the truth. Because the truth they can't handle. The truth, they can't make a living at it. See, and that's the one thing. They can't make a living for telling the truth. See, if you knew the truth, this is the problem, that we wouldn't have a problem. But if you knew the structure of how they're making a living destroying your water resources, your food resources, your forest resources, And I always find it hilarious when they say, we cut all the trees down and now the deer come out because they got more open areas. They got open areas because they know that where they were at before you cut the trees down, they were safe, and now everybody could just blow them away. You know. Trust me, I don't have a problem with that because I like shooting deer myself, elk, raccoon, whatever. I mean, it's good eating. But I mean, when we destroy our food resources and our water structure, and that's the other point is that when they sit there and say that the timber company has all this resources and money, it's yours, folks. Timberland is not sellable to private corporations. It's public lands. And I will have that out shortly, trust me. Because this is baloney what they're destroying our food resources. And saying, oh, we have all this income. Well, they decide to make your income off of your livelihood, off of your food resources, off your land. Your public land is your public land, not theirs. And that's the one thing that all these people say, well, and then they bring all these foreigners in our country. I mean, we're definitely dealing with, immigrants and all these Muslims. So you got to realize when they bring this stuff to you and tell you that we're going to do this stuff, they're sitting there, destroying your life. Now this whole thing is we got to protect the trans kids. Who gives a doggy about the trans kids? See, that's the one thing is that's their problem. That should not be on a street corner, should not be public to you or me. I mean, back in the days, people used to have respect for one another. They don't have that today. It's rape, rob, and pillage. And if we can make money off of raping your children, they're going to do it because in that way they're making money off of counseling, jails. See, it's all a business. It has nothing to do with about justice. And once you comprehend there's no justice, you will comprehend a deal. Everybody keeps going, what is that, the thing in New York City, that France gave us? Statue of Liberty. Why the hell you think it's out in the middle of the ocean, basically? It's not a Statue of Liberty. See, that was given to us for mind control, to sit there and go, oh, we're going to buy into this. And people buy into this stuff all the time. That's what gets to me. All these corporations says, I have a right to a job. No, you don't. You have a right to go hunting and fishing, dig a tree down, cut the tree down for your home, get off your butt. And that's what we're supposed to do. But, when we think about how many homeless people we got in the state created. Believe me, it's created. And how do I know it? I've watched it, seen it, and they do it all the time. And you do this all the time, creating these problems for your children. You create these problems on the circumstances. And I always have all these damn illegals running for office. And where are these people standing up for these illegals? See, that's the one thing. They changed their constitution and administrative rule to let you be terrorized. Just like England is right now being raped, robbed, and murdered by, what do they call that, Muslims? We can rape the children, and it's acceptable because we're creating a job, because you need a job more than we need anything else. I find it hilarious with all these people that run for office who don't even have a clue what the hell they're running for. I'm going to change the law to protect the kids, and then when you realize you can't change shit. I went through that. I've been successful on some stuff, and the one thing I did to get successful with changing, we got free fishing days. We're supposed to have more free fishing days come from ODF&W. Technically, by the Senate Bill 803 and 805, we're supposed to end up with 10 or 30 fishing days a year. And I know, those are my Senate bills. And that was part of the structure. If you pay your so-called tariff tax for the privilege of feeding your family in this country, territory, Oregon, paying the privilege to feed your family, okay? you are supposed to be able, and my bill said that you were supposed to be allowed 25 fish or 15 fish to 25 fish a day. Because most people are not going to go fishing every day to feed their family. And that's the point that people don't comprehend, the reality of the real world. Everybody wants these fantasy structures. And so it's like, you know, it's like it always gets to me. Everybody goes, oh, we need to pay property taxes, keep the system going. I hate to tell you, folks, that's a lie, too. Property taxes go to the Queen of England. Prove me wrong. State and federal income tax go to the Queen of England divided with the Queen and Vatican. Prove me wrong. I've already written this stuff up, done the research, put the stuff up, and showed you how to go research the channels and bring it right to them. You know, I mean, it's just so disturbing when you got all these people out there saying that, you know, we have these rights. We're going to be protecting you. They ain't protecting you. They don't give a shit. Oregon right to life is another bullshit. If there was a right to life, why are they sitting there stealing your children by DHS and selling them on the open market? I know that for a fact. I witnessed it at the Oregon State Capitol. There were senators and congressmen who spoke against this 20, 25, 30 years ago. Did anybody give a shit? Oh, no. The Democrats said, no, we can't do that. We need to make money. It's all about the money, the income. See, that's the one thing. It's all about a job. Counselors need jobs, you know. We need to rape the children. We need more jobs because by raping the children, they need counselors. They need to go see a doctor. You know, oh, we could put them on Ritalin because ADHD bullshit, which it is bullshit. See, and all these people from, you know, these government agencies. I went to church. Believe me, I'm a Christian. I wouldn't believe it's Christian at all because Christians raped, robbed, and murdered the Indians. Proven in history. And I always love it when people say, I'm not that Christian. Prove it. You know, you're sitting there making a living off the children. Prove it. You know, I mean, and I watch this stuff where these people make a living off it. You know, and all these people run for election, and these senators and congressmen know it. They argue back and forth. They pass statute codes and administrative bills. So all they do is, and they know that they're raping the children, allowing it to happen. And everybody says, oh, God. Well, if there was a God, then why the hell is the children being raped in this country? If there was a God, why are you allowing it to happen? See, that's the thing that gets to me. You know, it's got to me since I can go back for years growing up. You know, if there was a God, then why the hell is this stuff going on where the children are being allowed to be raped for financial gain? You know, I mean, you know, and then the Vatican says, it's okay. You know, now the Vatican's being charged with all these rapes and murders, and they know it. And I'm you know, I hate to say the happy part, but when these guys, you know, come together and these people get dealt with in the traditional way, that's what we want. That's what, you know, they're supposed to be treated in that traditional way. You know, I always love it. Oregonians for fair elections. There ain't no fair elections in Oregon. Nobody's watching them. I mean, come on. If there was a fair election, then how come Kate Brown is still in office? Let's not forget, when the recall started, it went from 229,000. It was only the votes they needed, and then it went up to 292,000. Kate Brown altered the paperwork. I mean, you people don't even pay attention to what's going on. You guys are just sheeple. You just do what you're told. I just do what I told. And that's what you do. And you do that with the children. And the children are the ones paying the cost by the birth certificate bond, the registration fees, college and university structures. You know, I mean, college technically is supposed to be free. But they'll let the illegals in this country get free college and services. But your children are denied them. You deny your children. See, that's what disturbs me. You deny your children this stuff, but you'll sit there and jump on the bandwagon for an immigrant, or, you know, I mean, and then you want to pay for these sex change operations for these people that are not mentally stable. And then they're coming out, and how many people right now have been coming out and had sex change operations? So far, it's been 70%, as the statistics came out and said. 70% came out and said they wish they would have not done it. So that's the point. These people are out there telling you, I wish I would have done it. But see, when you got these liberals, Democrats, democracy, pushing this for jobs, I need a job. Well, how do you know this? You don't hunt. You know? I mean, and that's the point. It's just disturbing. It's like DMV, you know, we're not supposed to let illegals get a driver's license. And then what happens? They get a driver's license. Do you get off your ass and file criminal charges on your elected and public employees? No, you're a slave going, oh, I can't do nothing. They're just my boss. They're my superiors. I have no right to speak. And my speaking voice is only at the ballot box, and that's a lie. You can file criminal charges on these individuals. Only living men and women can file criminal charges. See, that's the one thing. Only men and women can file criminal charges. State Attorney General, District Attorney, they can't. They're a corporation member. And not only that, you always want, when you go to these corporation courts, you always want to ask them. Always want to ask them. Excuse me. Where's your conflict of interest statement? And I'll put that up on the YouTube tracker tonight, so that way you can actually read what a conflict of interest statement really is compared to what you think it is. See, that is the one thing that when you comprehend what a conflict of interest statement, and that's the one thing, when it comes to voting, why are elected and public employees allowed to vote? Isn't that a conflict of interest? Because they're voting for their job and increase. And I remember on a couple of levies that were failed, and people said, well, we're glad that they voted because the public employees stopped it. They did not stop it. The media came out. Remember, the media. Look, read who owns the media, who pays the media, who runs the media. I've had friends of mine in the media, very good news reporters, you know, for 40 years. And they were told if they were published the story, they would lose their job. No shit. You know, they would lose their job. And that's what these people are going through. They're going through this right now. We do this, we're going to lose our job. So people are scared. And so people are allowed to be scared, and that's the problem. And these children are being tormented today, you know, and that's the thing. Oh, they're getting hit with all angles. You know, now they're being transgendered in libraries and public structures. That shouldn't be in public structures. They haven't even had a chance to even think about life yet. And all of a sudden you're mind controlling them, just like the Bible does mind control. That is exactly what it is. You know, you got to remember, all this is mind control for job security. A job. And when you sit there and do this for jobs, you're not sitting there protecting the children. You know, I mean, I watch people all the time do this stuff. You know, I've been doing it, watching and paying attention for 45 years of my life. Really paying attention. I set up for a lot of years. Watch people what they're doing. You know. And so, I mean, and when I see this stuff going on, it's just so frustrating that people allow this stuff to happen to their own children. You know, and when you're doing this to your own children, when you it. So yeah, I'm preaching and rambling on, like I get people say, yeah, you're rambling. Well, you're damn right I'm rambling or preaching. Because the problem is you're not standing up and doing anything about it. You know, and you haven't proved that you love your children yet. You haven't proved you're defending your children. You know, I mean, that's the other point. You know, we've got the stuff that, you know, how to file and own your child. Do it. Claim your bloodline. And that applies to elected and public employees as well. Be native in this country. And remember, if you're elected and public employee, you do give up your rights until you are out of office or you're retired. And then once you're retired, you do have to file your native rights again. And I put that up. We even have that on structure where once you are elected and public employee, you give up your rights. You have no rights anymore. And so once you comprehend that you give up your rights, and this is what goes on, because remember, you're working for a foreign agent, a British government agent. So once you start comprehending that you are not an American, and you're not sitting there standing up for your country and claiming that you're claiming you want to be an American, but you're not. That's the whole point. When you're not standing up for your children, and everybody keeps going, well, I need to send my kids to school. What kind of education they get? Oh, the cops come in, they dictate to the kids what's going on. That's the main thing about cops, the kids don't have rights. You got the police department, fire department, and then they got this program that's going on coming up this Christmas. Shop with a cop. Oh, so the cops get to monitor what you're doing. That's what amazes me. You're letting the police department dictate to your children what they can buy, what they can't have. And you're doing that. Shop with a cop. So now you have no freedom, you have no rights. And you think that these cops are there protecting you? That's what it just amazes me. They write down everything you do, because remember, they're reporting agents. That's their job, is to report as an agent. So when they're reporting as an agent, that's what they're doing. So you're saying that you're claiming that you have rights, but you don't have rights. You don't even know what your rights are because you're not claiming them. Your child doesn't have rights because you don't even know what your child's rights are. And that's a proven fact. You're saying that, oh, I have rights, but whose rights are you preaching? So anyhow, I'm going to go ahead and open up the floor, and then before I do that, I want to make sure you guys comprehend penalties for public officers. I will be posting that into the site tonight. This is where you can sue them. This is the violations by the federal crime of fraud, traveling without a license when they kidnap and hold you for ransom. But you got to remember, you have to file the criminal charges with the state attorney general and district attorney, and always make sure it's filed in Washington, D.C., the state attorney general's office in Washington, D.C., as well as your city and county. I always send it to the news media, because the news media is one of those things that's crazy out there anyways, because, people don't get what the news media really is. And they keep going, well, we have rights. I got to respond back to another group that sent me a deal that is trying to claim, what is that? Taxes. And it's like, that's the whole point. And then they're claiming 50 states. 50 states does not exist. It's a corporation of the British government. And as soon as you comprehend that it is the corporation of the British government, not American government, the British government. And that is the point. It is the British government. You take a title of nobility, you're taking a title of nobility to the British government, not the United States for America. The United States of America for the corporation of their corporation. You're not protecting anybody. So a corporation cannot take an oath. That's the state attorney general, district attorney, police officers. They can't file a criminal complaint. They do. It's called a private corporation, and it's a federal crime. And so that's when they do this stuff to you, you have to file criminal charges on them. And so anyhow, I'm going to go ahead and open up the floor, and we'll go from there. Anyhow, thank you.
All participants are unmuted.
Anybody got any comments?
Hey, Ed.
Go ahead.
My wife is wanting to become a national citizen or naturalized citizen. What's the difference between? Well, I know that naturalized citizen is corporation, but what's a state citizen?
Same difference. They're not American. That's the whole point. And see, the thing is that she's here under your authority. And so under that point with your children, that's what they consider half-breeds, so that means they're lawful, not legal. So they're half-breeds. And that goes back to the terminology of 1866 with the Indians, because, you know, the Indians were mingling with foreigners at that point, and that's where the half-breed terminology started coming, realistically in the early 1800s is when half-breeds started becoming. So on that, and because your son or your daughter is of this country, you leave your assets to them with her. The woman can control the assets, but the children are the heirs to the assets because they're lawful.
Okay, but how have you ever came up with a way where because the reason she's wanting to do this is because she wants to get a passport instead of having to get always a visa to go visit back in Thailand.
Right, but see, Thailand, that's a different story because Thailand has their own administrative rules.
Yeah, but how can she get a passport to where she can go back and forth?
Well, because, see, that's the one thing. Thailand, to my comprehension, doesn't have a passport. They have a visa. Well, they do in a sense. I'll have to do a little more research on that before I put my foot in my mouth. So we'll have to work together. We'll have to come up with a solution, and then we'll have to bring that publicly.
Okay.
You know, because I don't want to put my foot in my mouth because I hate the taste of soul, and trying to blow a bubble out of a shoe doesn't work. You know, so, you know, that's one thing we can work on. But like I said, with your kids, seeing that they're half-breeds, they have lawful rights, not legal rights. And so that's the point that needs to be stressed. And so once people comprehend, that's how our country was founded. That's what the native treaties said. And I encourage people to read the real treaties. You know, not what the Democrats have passed since the 1800s.
Ed.
Not the 19th century, because I don't know why they go from 0 to 1 when it should be starting 1, and then from there, because 0 doesn't count.
Ed.
But they've done that for the corporation structure, so that's the saddest part. Go ahead.
I just want to get clarification to the caller. He's talking about his children, but quick question: are they biologically your children, or did you basically adopt them in marriage?
No, one is adopted by marriage, but then my youngest son is bloodline.
Yeah,
okay, so
exactly.
There's the difference right there. One will be what Ed's calling a half-breed. The other one, her children could be half-breed.
Right, and see, that's the point, that the child is a half-breed, so it's native. And we put that out. We know that for a fact. We have that research out, and that's should be on the website by now, I believe. And how can they afford the rent after losing everything? You know, I got one request here saying this, and it's like, affording the rent for what? That's the whole point. You ever heard of a teepee? Tent? You know, I slept in the back of RVs and tents. I've slept in the back of the back of trailers. When people say I'm homeless, I wasn't homeless. But that's the whole point. People claim that you're homeless. I was never homeless. Why am I homeless when I got the United States to go live in a forest? You know, my home is the United States. That's like when somebody says, you know, oh, we need to open up our borders for immigration, so we have somebody coming in and telling you how to live in your house. That's, you know, to me it doesn't make sense that you have a right to tell somebody else to live in somebody else's house. You know, so but yeah, we'll throw something together. Send me a thought. We'll tie up here in the next couple of days on this. So we'll try to bring something up for next Friday or next Saturday on this subject for you and others that are in the position that you are in, if that makes sense.
Oh yes, I comprehend.
You know, so we'll work on that one. So, and we want to be able to, that way we have to do some basic legal research and immigration and with the state corporation as well as the United States. And then where her home country is, we need to do that on visa and passports on the structure of that one. Now, there's one guy out there that I'll have to pull up his video, and I'll send that video to you, and I can't remember his name off the top of my head. But he has what they call a world passport that he's created. And, you know, he's created this world passport that's acceptable all over the world is what they're claiming. But, I mean, and I never got back to finish the research on that. And, you know, and Jordan Maxwell, I wanted to bring up Jordan Maxwell. If you haven't watched some of Jordan Maxwell's videos, I do recommend. I've talked to Jordan Maxwell numerous times over the years on the phone. He does know what he's talking about and a lot of this stuff with the Roman Catholic Church and the ownership and stuff. And so, and Taiwan still goes by Christianity, and so that is the one thing to bring that point up, because she doesn't want to go through that where she's signing a visa to the Christian church. She wants to sign it to her homeland, so we have to do the research and figure that one out. So we have to figure that one out, so that way she has rights instead of privileges. And that could be issued from her own home country on rights, and then when she comes here on a visa, she has rights through you, and her, you know, your child has rights, not privileges. So that's something we have to bat around, but I've got a couple court cases I realistically have to finish up here in the next couple of days. I got another one I got to go right on the Supreme Court, on a judge on the Supreme Court that, you know, violating his oath of office. And that's the one thing, folks, that when it comes down to these public servants, including judges, you can write treason charges on these men and women. File it, and make sure when you do file any of these paperwork, or your 1099 form, your 4506A form, make sure you always send a copy to the Department of Justice in Washington, D.C. Because Washington, D.C. and the Vatican is supposed to control this stuff, and that's part of their original contract with us after the Civil War. That's why there's two constitution, or two treaty constitution, as some will say to you. You know, so the Vatican has authority. That, you know, the Vatican is crying right now to the world, oh, nobody's going to church anymore. We're not getting any money. Well, people are waking up how the church is a fraud. And so, you know, we know it. People are getting it. So it's like, how do we stop it? And it's up to us to do it, because if we don't do it, nobody else is going to do it. You guys all know that. So, but that's a good question on that one. So we'll hit that one here in the next few days. We'll try to get that up. If we don't have all the research done by Christmas, we'll start the new year with that one. So I'm going to send you some emails myself, because you're going to have to do some of the footwork on that one, basically for both of us. Does that make sense?
Yes, and I greatly appreciate your assistance on this.
Yeah, no problem. We'll figure it out. We'll come up with a solution. You know, because there's always solutions, even on immigration structure. You know, even when you're marrying to a foreigner, you know, and that's the point, especially when you have a child with them, you know, on American soil. See, that's different. It's like, you know, people say, well, my family was in the military and they had a child in Germany, Spain, Africa. Excuse me, you were born on foreign soil. Doesn't matter if it's a military base, whatever your fantasy thought, born on foreign soil. So under that circumstances, you are an honorary, privileged citizen like Lars Larson Taxo. He was born in Taiwan, you know, and I've written that structure to him several years ago, and he got real pissed off at me when I pointed it out to him, you know. And of course, he doesn't call himself a real American anymore. He can't, but that's why he jumped on the capitalization. Rape, rob, and pillage, because that's what capitalization really means. We could hire the thugs of the federal and state courts to go take your land from you. Capitalizing, we could steal it. So, but I mean, that's the one thing that we have to work on that one to do it. Like I said, you know, we have a lot of honorary citizens, and they are citizens. They are not natives. Okay, and that's the one thing, like I said, I preach the structure on citizens and nationals. And it's like I got to respond back to a couple people that responded back to me dealing with Executive Order 2040, going how FDR had no rights to do this. FDR had every right in the world to write to citizens and nationals an enemy to our country. Remember, he privatized the birth certificate bond that was originally structured in 1890 by the Vatican, and that started all this structure. So when he put that in, executive order, I can't remember the day, I think it was June 5th or 6th, 1933, so he's classifying, because the United States citizens are not Americans, they are corporations, so as nationals. Nationals are the structure, goes back to the original term of the British government, a national structure of the British government. And so that is the point when you read this stuff, what it means is separating the truth from the mind control, the way they word this stuff and twist the words into stuff. So, but anyhow, that'll be one of our projects here the next few days, but I got to get through a couple of these court cases first. Because I had one guy called me up today and said, hey, I'm waiting for this. Of course, everybody knows last week I went back up to Portland and I was in and out dealing with medical stuff again. So, I mean, I didn't, get a lot of stuff done because I was dealing with other issues. So, but I can't complain. I'm still here, so. Anybody else, you got any more other questions?
Yeah, I got one.
Go ahead.
What do you think of the idea of doing a quiet title action on your name?
Well, yeah, you could do that, but you have to file to own yourself. So you're filing to own your bloodline, to own your name, and you can do it with a quiet title, but also, too, you want to file to own yourself. That's what I did with the Secretary of State in the state of Oregon, and I had that recorded in the Secretary of State's office as well as public meetings, that I own myself. So basically, you're asking for a quiet title on yourself, but that's the same similarity. I filed my bloodline to prove that I was native to own me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Okay. Now, are you on my YouTube channel or Facebook?
I'm not on Facebook.
Okay. Do you know my email?
I don't think I do.
Okay, well, go to new.org and Trackers, our website here, and then go on that, and you'll see where to connect to me. Hit me on my email, send it to me twice, then I'll send you the information on what, why, and how, and I'll actually send you, if you would tell me which state you're in, I'll send you the state administrative rules on it, so that way you can see how it works.
That sounds great.
Remember, the state administrative rules, and everybody keeps going, well, the state has rights against the Constitution to separate itself. No, it does not. The states have to be equal to the treaties of the Indian native treaties as well as the Constitution. Constitution was written by foreigners, the British government, a couple of them were Spaniards, and the major structure with that was the treaties, and so the treaties supersede the Constitution. Even the Supreme Court has admitted that by the filings. And the Constitution endorses the treaty, so that way we have the rights of our lawful and legal system. And so, yeah, hit me up on that one, and I'll make sure you get the information on it. And I'll post some of the stuff on the YouTube channel tonight. When we get off the show, in a few hours, I'll post some stuff up that might help you. I'm going to post probably at least 20 links on the YouTube channel tonight. And like I said, you send me that, I will definitely make sure you get the lawful and legal stuff.
What is the YouTube channel?
Oh, the YouTube channel, that is Oregon Trackers on YouTube.
Okay, cool.
You know, and so, yeah, I've been doing YouTube, it's been several years now. And then I will be going through the YouTube channel tonight and tomorrow, because I got to find that one that I thought I have it saved, but somehow shit keeps getting deleted from my computer, because I'm going to put the one with Bruce Doucette and Ann Von Ritz and Paul, and when they tried to put me and Dave Lee Buse on public trial, and we tore them up because they're going Continental Marshal and Continental Judge, and it's like, What the hell is a Continental Marshal and Continental Judge, and where's your authority? You're just claiming something just like the department is, and we the people gave the corporation authority, and if they're not doing the corporation authority lawfully, we have to put them in prison or just in their budgets. And that's what we are working on, and you'll be seeing some changes with Trump coming up pretty soon. That's going to be eliminating some departments, and I can't get into all that right now, but you're going to see some federal departments 100% eliminated. Their budget will be eliminated and 100% cut. And once they're cut, they cannot redo their budget, period. And that's what we want to do, because we got too many frauds out there in government. It's like the watershed projects. You know, I mean, I'm a co-founder of the West Coast Watershed, literally. And when they did all these West Coast projects, you know, it was one thing that got to me, because all these people in the 80s and 90s didn't have jobs. So what they did is they, like Oregon State University and Portland University and Oregon State University. So they didn't have jobs. All these people came out with education, but there was no jobs for them. So what they did is they created jobs called watershed projects. They created nonprofits out. So they wrote it off to the state government, so that way they run the tax rolls. Hey, smart decision when you think about it. But then when you think about it, they're writing it off and they're claiming you should pay these people a salary that doesn't exist. Because if you look at history, in the last 25 years, we've had a straight across the board 400% increase in government agencies. You know, that's 400%. You know, and the Democrats are still popping up these nonprofit structures all the time, and there's no jobs. I mean, they're creating this as a factor of dollars and billing it to the tax system, to the British government, and everybody keeps going, well, the national debt keeps rising. And then they start going, well, Trump just raised the national debt by $13 trillion. He didn't raise shit. The British government, the Democratic Party, created all these jobs that are written off to it. They don't know how the system works. They don't comprehend the reality of what's going on in our system. So Trump didn't create the debt. Your Democratic Party, Pelosi and Weinheiser and Warren and all these people, when they created all these new jobs out of their government agencies, you know, they're creating this stuff with no income coming in, and they're writing it off as a debt. So that's how that really works. So, but yeah, send me that information. I will get the information to you within the next 48 hours. Yeah, and you can look me up online, you know, Edward Johnston, Ed Johnston. The website is new.oregontrackers, and that's new.oregontrackers and .org or .com. And you can track me down that way, and you can type in Ed Johnston, Toledo, Oregon. I'm not hard to find.
Tell me one other thing. Is there a way to call in and hear a recording of this show on the phone?
Call in on the recording. When you go right to the YouTube channel. I don't know. Well, I don't know. I have to ask my producer on that one. Do we have a number that people can call in and do a back check? Hello?
I'm not getting exactly what you're asking there.
Basically, he's asking, is there a call-in number that besides going to the YouTube channel, is there a call-in number that we might have set up, and I don't think we actually do, that there's a number that you call in to hear the channel? Let's say, if you're on the call-in number now, can you use that number, and can you go back, or is it just a live channel for every time we're on the air?
It's a live channel every time we're on the air. We do have previous episodes saved, but in order to be able to listen to them, you got a moderator on that, and he's not.
Okay, so in other words, we could do a talk channel or something like that to set it up, because I mean, I don't know why we haven't tied this into a talk show channel, because I do have a talk show channel, because we do have Oregon Trackers talk show. So that's another thing we talked about. But
the reason we haven't done
say that again, please.
The reason we haven't done that, Ed, is because my internet is so slow I can barely handle YouTube. I can't handle multiple
Well, that's
different
true.
services.
Yeah,
Now, if somebody out there has got a way to actually increase DSL,
that's true. That's true. Yeah, well, we're working on that, but that comes with resources, and we don't have that, So,
All right, that's cool. That's cool.
but yeah, like I said, the best way to get hold of us is through the website new.organ trackers, and like I said, we are on YouTube channel, and that is Organ Trackers on YouTube.
Very good. Thanks.
So yeah, and like I said, the whole thing is, I do all this research. I actually read the bills. I spent, 15 years at the Oregon State House and Senate, as a public lobbyist primarily. I knew senators and congressmen up there. I had some bills. I did a lot of research for them. And that is the one thing that, is knowing what it is compared to what we think it is. And so, like I said, it was interesting when I'm reading all the so-called bills. Remember, when they call a Senate House bill for the state, whatever state you're in, it's a bill that they're sending to you for you to pay their job, their salary. And that's what it is. It's a bill. I passed this bill, and they got to come up with the funding somehow. So they're adding that into court fees, administrative fees, any way they can come up with the fee that they want you to pay. That's like drug and alcohol counseling program. What a fraud that is. Because if you want to be a drunk, be a drunk. What are you whining to the rest of the world because you're not responsible for? I grew up around drug addicts and alcoholics all my life. And I watched them, how they whined and how they complained, and it's like they weren't responsible. So they want everybody else to be responsible or feel sorry for them. Excuse me, can't do that. I was raised by a lot of elders from, and some of the elders I was raised were from Scotland and Ireland and real rough countries. And, their attitude, you turn your back on a drunk. You didn't deal with them. Let them go sleep in the street. Who cares? And that's the problem where all these Democrats said, oh, we need a care. They started pushing this 35 years ago. We need to do all this. And one of them was Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats of California pushing all this crap back then, because I remember that in the 70s when I was growing up, literally, watching this crap. And all they were doing is creating debt and jobs for themselves to have a job for their bloodline. Newsom. If you actually know that Pelosi and Newsom and all these people, they're all living in the same house. They're blood related. But you don't know it unless you do the research to find out who, what, why, and how. So we got videotapes. I got to get those put up. I might as well find a couple of those and put them in the link on the YouTube channel tonight. So that way people could actually watch the history of California of who, what, Jerry Brown, his father, tied with who. And some of these people I personally grew up with. Some of them I personally knew. I worked on some of their campaigns in the 70s, and I didn't realize how bad they were until the mid-80s when I started really seeing what politics really was, instead of going up through my teen years going, oh, this is great, until I realized that, oh, my God, what they're doing to the people. So, anyway, any other thoughts? So hopefully we answered your questions this evening. Like I said, new.organ trackers is the website. That's one way to contact us. You can always look me up on the internet. And then the other point is the YouTube channel that we have is Organ Trackers YouTube. And I will be posting the city's administrative rules and stuff like that on the YouTube channel tonight. So that way, folks can actually read it and see what it is instead of what they think it is. Because it's up to us to produce the evidence for the children. We have to educate the children. It's our responsibility, not theirs. So, anyhow, anybody else would like to throw anything in? Okay, well, nobody else would like to speak up. Then with that, we're going to call it an evening. So the Great Spirit bless you. May Mother Earth feed and take care of you with the Great Spirit. May the Creator bless your life.
Thank you, Ed. You've been listening to Disclaimers by Ed Johnston, and it is